Hello, this is Monty Parent with Outdoor Fathers. In this video, I want to share a tactic that I've used with great success over the last decade. And before I get started, I want to make a promise to you. I talk about parenting, or I talk about being a father, and I talk about hunting. And I want to promise you that I will never bring you a tactic that I haven't had personal success with. I will never share with you a strategy that I don't personally know that it's worked for me. And by deductive reasoning, if it's worked for me, it's a good chance it could work for you. My story is this: I took a deer my second day in the woods, and 11 years later, I took my second one. Those were 11 frustrating years, and they were frustrating because I wanted to take some deer. I wanted to have some success. I loved being in the woods, but it wasn't as much fun since I wasn't having success. I had the good fortune of hooking up with a friend who knew what he was doing. He got me started started me off on the right foot, and I took it from there and started learning and adding things to my tool bag, and I achieved the success that I desired, and this is one of my favorite tactics. Before I share it with you, let me just say this. I live in the South, and toward the tail end of our season lasts from the middle of September almost until January 1. And toward the tail end of our season, usually the acorns have played out, and I start switching over and hunting some green fields and some honeysuckle thickets and that type of thing, because that's what the deer are doing. They're switching to those food sources because the acorns are drying up. When I hunt a green field late in the season like that, after they've had a lot of pressure in our southern hunting areas, I don't expect to see deer until close to dark. I expect to see deer right at dusky light, and I've taken many deer just with minutes of legal light left. And one particular year I was out hunting, and I had 16 deer show up in a green field a good hour before sunset. Not before the end of shooting light. There was an hour and a half of shooting light left when these deer showed up, and I wondered why that was. I was kind of baffled. I had that happen a couple times over a 3 or 4 year period, and I started wondering why. And I found a thing called the Solunar tables. That's Solunar, and I don't really understand how they work. I don't know why they work. I just know they do. And all they simply are is they're tables that are published in many periodicals. You can find them on the internet, and they tell you the times of day when there's a possibility of animal activity, of in this case deer activity. And they're going to show you two minor periods during the day and two major periods during the day. And they're usually 12 hours apart, so one of them's going to coincide with the time when we can be in the woods. And here's how I use them. I just show up in the woods an hour before the table, say that the activity period is going to be. Years ago, when I first started paying attention to this, I told a friend of mine about it. Oh, he laughed, he cackled, he thought I'd lost my mind. And toward the tail end of our season, he called me that year and he said, I took a deer today. And I said, let me tell you what time you took it. And he said, when was that? I said, 4:30. He said, how did you know? Well, I said, you told me where you're hunting, and I know where the bedding area is in that area. And I figured it took there was a 3:30 activity period, major activity period this afternoon. I figured it would take about an hour for them to amble over near you. He became a believer. He started utilizing the same way I have, and now we've been using them for better than a decade with great success. They're real simple. You find the Solunar tables in a periodical or on the internet, or in my case, I have them on my GPS. When you can hunt, when there's a coinciding activity period, try to be at your place, at your hunting area, at your stand an hour before the deer activity is supposed to start, and be ready for them. In my case, early in the season, I'm usually hunting a food source. I try to get there an hour before the major activity periods say that there's going to be some deer activity happening. I'll stick with that for the first 2 or 3, 4 weeks of the season before the rut kicks in, and during that time, I'm picking up information. I'm finding areas where there's a lot of does. I'm starting to see rubs and scrapes, and then I switch over and I start hunting the rut, because the Solunar tables are still in effect. They're still having an impact, but now there's another force that's actually causing deer to move, and that's the rut. So I use that period in the early season hunting food sources to catalog some information that will help me be in the right place during the rut. And that's where the does are, and usually there's going to be rubs and scrapes, which are telling signs to that. This is a tactic I've used with great success. I'm sharing it because I want you to have some success. If you're a new hunter, I want you to get out there and use a tactic like this to your advantage, and get excited, stay excited, and tell other people about our great sport. And I really hope that this is a big help to you. This is Monty Parent with Outdoor Fathers. Get outdoors.